So, in our pre-show meeting, you mentioned that you feel like national media, and in this case, Emmanuel Acho, is coming around on the impact that Lamar has for others around him, particularly the first ballot Hall of Famer, Derrick Henry. What'd you find?
My goodness. I don't know if they're just now legitimately figuring this out because I have sent film to Emmanuel Acho in the past. And it was the film from the Ravens Week 16 game showing the Lamar Jackson effect. He didn't respond, but maybe he saw it and was like, oh, okay. Maybe there's something here. Or maybe he just felt like Allen really needed to win. He needed to justify giving Allen the vote for MVP. But finally, Bobby, finally, here he tweets out a film breakdown from this wild card game against the Steelers. And he writes, the Ravens scheme is ridiculous. And if you can't stop this, you'll never stop the Ravens. He says, this is my favorite breakdown of the season with mind blown emojis. Okay. And I'm going to play his breakdown in just a minute. Then he wasn't done there. He quote retweeted himself because his mind is blown that much. Everybody talks about the impact Derrick Henry has on Lamar Jackson's success. But the film shows LJ has had a wild impact on Henry's success. Hello? How long have we been preaching this? And I feel like he knows. I sent them that film and it got a lot of likes. I tagged him in it, obviously, because I'm replying to him. It got a lot of likes. He had to see it. Bobby, he's finally seen the lights and he's sharing it with everybody that watches the facility. Here's his breakdown with screen grabs for copyright purposes.
Everybody who said that, look at the effect that Derrick Henry has. You also have to look at the effect Lamar Jackson has. Ravens, you cannot stop the Ravens if you cannot stop this. Favorite breakdown. Right now, the Ravens schematically, they know how to defeat you. If you look at it, this linebacker, number 41, very simply put, number 41, you got the A gap. But what you do defensively, you do something called you chase and you replace. A, Watt, I need you to chase, and then Wilson, I need you to replace. Early on in the second quarter, look at the timestamp. Again, we're going to go through a lot of things here, but I'm going to try to do it concisely. Chase and replace. This is the Steelers doing it well. You chase, you replace, tackle. Dead to rights. Do that well, but here's the problem. The Baltimore Ravens, they consistently garner information throughout the course of the game. Throughout the course of the game, they're garnering information. Now, again, look at the timestamp. It's now been one quarter later. What have I taught y'all? You chase and you replace. You chase and you replace. It's very simple. You chase and you replace. But the Ravens, they wised up. What they said is, hey, we're going to block the chaser. So if in the event we now block the chaser, go ahead, replace if you want to. But because we blocked the chaser, there is now going to be nobody in the gap. You chase, you replace. That's fine. But the Ravens and Todd Monken offensively, they wised up. You chase, you replace. They block the chaser. Nobody's in the replacement gap. But then to add insult to injury, later on in the game, the Ravens, they add another wrinkle to the scheme. Remember, we've already talked about the scheme. At home, you can say it back to me at your TVs. You chase, you replace. You chase,
replace.
You replace. It's very simple. But now the Ravens got even smarter. Now they're going to block the replacer. So if the Ravens block the replacer, now the individual, number 24, who is supposed to be guarding the replacer man-to-man, now you have to show up. You got to chase, replace, and replace. But you cannot inevitably do that. And so you look at number 24, JPJ, he ends up lost on the play, and the Baltimore Ravens, they pick up another big game. Now, in case you missed some of the details, here's what I want you to see. Second quarter, chase, you replace. But then in the third quarter, the Ravens wise up. Chase, you replace. Then the last play I showed y'all, it was in the fourth quarter. Ravens got even smarter. You want to chase and replace. Don't worry. We are going to even block the chaser. Then we're going to block the replacer. You chase, you replace, you replace. You can't do it consistently. And even if you got the right bodies in the right place at the right time, can they make the right tackle?
And you wonder why Pittsburgh was completely worn out. And to use Mike Tomlin's words, fatigued was a component. You're wondering why. Great breakdown, Sarah.
They were fatigued early, and Bobby, just for the sake of time, you should have watched, if you guys can go back and watch the facility and watch Chase Daniels and LaShawn Shady McCoy, their reaction to all this. because after that, Acho went and sat down back at the desk. And then Chase Daniels is like, that first one, the one where I had, here, let me bring this back up. Right here. This one they had to bring back up because Chase Daniels, his jaw was on the floor. He's like, I've never seen that before. This is former NFL players with their jaws on the floor. And obviously they're covering 32 teams, so they're not looking at film in depth all the time like this, which is why I like to reach out in a non-combative way to show this type of stuff, hoping that they might see it. And so Chase is like, he's like, bring that back up. He's like, three guys. And then McCoy, who is obviously a former running back in the NFL, has a lot of nice awards himself. He's like, Acho, I ran read options. I've run them. Obviously he has. He's like, never has that happened with the quarterback I did it with. Never. I never saw a lane like that where it took three guys and the A gap is wide open. Like, you should go back and watch their reactions. Like, they're just like stunned by it. We aren't, because we've been seeing it. So they're coming around, Bobby. They're coming around to the Lamar Jackson effect.
This is the key screenshot right here.
That's it.
I mean, you don't want to take away whatsoever from a 31-year-old who put up over 1,900 rushing yards. But I'm sorry, playing behind the offensive line that he did, particularly his last year in Tennessee a season ago, it's night and day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you wonder why all these screenshots keep catching him with his eyes wide open as he dances to the end zone. He hasn't seen these kind of lanes and rushing windows in years. And of course, a lot of it has to do with the mobility of the offensive line, but it starts and ends with what we shared with you off the top, and that is Lamar Jackson's freakish way of escapability, the extension of plays, which is why Rashad and so many other receivers throughout his time and running backs have flourished. I get you got to be in shape, but you are flourishing as a result. If you are in shape, you are going to flourish in Baltimore with Lamar's uncanny ability to extend plays.
Just a magnet. So, okay, next, this is like a theme of national media coming around, right? So who do we want to go to next? Okay, so I showed yesterday this tweet, and I did go and watch First Things First. And Nick Wright was, for the first time I've ever seen, I thought, largely fair when it came to Lamar Jackson. So this tweet yesterday where he said, great game by Henry, obviously, but more importantly, so you can see it's not like using Henry to take away from Lamar. He's like, yeah, Henry played well, but more importantly, this was the first playoff game of Lamar's career where he's looked like regular season Lamar from the opening snap, and overall his second good playoff game ever. And then says the 23 versus Houston. He said, great sign as the Ravens look awesome heading into Buffalo. Then he kind of talked about how he said he got a listener reached out to him and said, the way you've set this up is you're going to be right as long as Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Super Bowl. Like, he was like, you're going to bury Lamar if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, even if he plays great. And Nick was right. Nick was like, I do want to be fair. He's like, I want to be fair. He goes, if he were to lose next weekend, but he played well, I will give him that credit. So he was trying, but I didn't feel like I needed to pull it in because he basically recapped what he wrote here. It was like not using Henry to reduce what Lamar did. He was like, no, Lamar was sensational from the beginning to end, but there was something much more entertaining before Nick said all that, which I believe you have, correct?
Yeah, and I had multiple people on last night's live stream when I covered this that reached out and wanted me clearly to make sure that we got your reaction to Chris Broussard, who, of course, is a co-panelist on First Things First with Nick Wright. Here's the screenshot. We'll get to the audio in just a second. But as Chris has continued to ingratiate himself to the Ravens flock,
yes,
he continues to make sure that he keeps receipts and has a good old time with Nick, who has not always been as forthcoming as he was yesterday, to your point, and also summarized in that tweet. So here's Chris rocking his Ravens robe. He's got the shades on as well. His feet are up on top with those snazzy Jordans on top of the table, on top of the set. And not
Bobby,
only, yeah.
I feel like I need to match Chris for this. All right.
Okay.
I got to match him.
Okay.
These are the glasses we got from Why is their name Oakley? Oakley, yeah, when they were brand sponsors. Okay, so I'm gonna match Chris Broussard. Here we go.
Yep.
I gotta listen to this.
Not only are you gonna match him, but you're going big screen while you listen to this, so we get your reaction to Chris Broussard's segment yesterday on First Things First that's making its way across social media. Here it is, the victory lap of all victory laps, if you will.
Okay, Brew, did Lamar silence his playoff doubters?
Before I get to Lamar and the Ravens, let me tell you something about the Steelers. What I like about the Steelers is that they watch First Things First. Mm-hmm. And because they watch First Things First, for the last 2-3 months, they have heard my friend, the great Nick Wright.
Thank you.
Talk about how they had Lamar Jackson's number.
Yeah. Well,
how he was even scared of them.
He said it.
And then when you throw in that they listen to Nick talk about Lamar's woes in the playoffs, how when the postseason comes, he goes on his own. He chokes. So because of that, the Steelers went into the Ravens' house feeling a bit chesty, thinking that they were going to get a diminished Lamar Jackson and pull off the upset. But guess who else watches First Things First?
Ooh.
The Ravens.
Oh.
And the Ravens knew. They saw Brew's marching orders. And boy, did they carry them out to a T. So when the Steelers showed up, they grabbed him by the back of the neck, pulled him in the house.
Pulled him in the house.
Said, fetch me my robe. Turn on the big screen, the wire. And then get in the kitchen.
Yikes.
And get me a sandwich with some chips. And of course, I gotta wash it down with a soda pop.
Soda pop.
It was music to my ears.
Where's the food?
Said he's the smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
That man Brew.
That man Brew.
The smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
That man Brew.
That man Brew.
Jordan's on his feet.
Jordan's on his feet.
Shade so sweet.
Shade so sweet.
Versace wrote from Nick.
Versace wrote from Nick.
Swagger don't quit.
Swagger don't
Remember
quit.
when I told you what the Ravens would do.
Ravens would do.
The smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
And that man Brew.
That man Brew. Brew.
Oh, he's the smartest man. Now it's time for a snack. Put it in my hand. Make me a sandwich. Soda pop. Don't forget the chips, please. Don't forget the chips. No mayo. Oh, fellas, that man Brew. Brew, brew. Oh, yeah.
Those guys.
Soda pop.
Legitimately a great song. I mean, it was really great. Fantastic. Brew, would you like me to go?
I'm going to be humming that all the rest of the show.
I don't blame you. I don't know that I had to say smartest in the room as many times.
I did not. They made that up themselves after observing the show.
All right. No, but in all seriousness,
it's all you.
Okay.
I'm done.
I'm done. Are you comfortable over there? Are you comfortable?
Dude, I'm almost totally comfortable. Listen, if the Ravens beat the Bills, we have to order some purple robes. And I need how does he say it? Sandwich. You know I don't typically drink soda pop. I've always got my water or I've got my Premier Protein, which I really feel like we need to reach out to them.
Okay.
But I'll drink a soda pop. Give me a Sprite. I'll take a Sprite. I will put on a robe, and then we'd have to put on the wire. I like, and then the man brings in a church choir. A church choir talking about soda pop and sandwiches, and he's the smartest in the room.
And no mayo. That was
wait. I do like mayo though. Don't give me mustard now. I can't take the mustard.
Listen,
the mayo I will.
The fact that acapella group came in, observed them probably prior to putting that together, and just delivered it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that was Emmy worthy. Dare I say that was an Emmy worthy segment.
That was good. Bobby, I am staying this way for the rest of this segment, the national media segment, okay? I'm keeping my feet up because all we have left is Dan Orlovsky, right?
Do it.
All right. I am legitimately comfortable here.
Here's your Orlovsky slide.
Oh, Dan. Oh, Dano. Well, let's play it. We'll get it on the other end. But basically, Dan and the guys on First Take are talking about the Bills and Ravens. And then I don't know why Dan needed to say this, but he seems to think that if the Bills play like they did against the Broncos on Sunday, he says they will beat the Ravens. Now, look, I am trying to be on my best behavior in terms of celebrating the Ravens without knocking down, say, Josh Allen, because I feel like Josh has had a sensational year, which just tells you why Lamar's year was even more incredible, because I think he's going to win that MVP, as I've been advocating for since, by the way, since Ravens fans have been against me. They were like, who cares about MVP, Sarah? They finally came around. But the Bills had a good game, but they didn't have a good first half, and they were not great in the red zone. And they dominated in time of possession, which I would be a bit surprised if they dominated time of possession against the Ravens. So at least Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp are coming around, right? That's what this segment's all about. But Dan Orlovsky, he's not quite there yet. Here is the segment.
Think that the Bills are going to have a 41-18 time of possession advantage? Do you think that they're going to beat the Ravens if they're in the red zone 5 times and only come up with 1 score? Do you think that's going to happen? Is that going to be good enough to beat the Baltimore Ravens?
No. If the Bills
that's not going to be it.
If the Bills play this coming weekend, first of all, I was way more impressed with what the Bills did and what the Ravens did, because the Steelers were just so bad. If they play this weekend against the Ravens like they did yesterday, Buffalo wins that game. Absolutely.
Oh, Lord.
They were
not winning that game.
He said, oh, Lord.
Yeah, I think, having watched yesterday's segment where he was talking about the tape, the first half tape that Pittsburgh put on film in the wild card game,
yeah,
I'd have to think it was more about how abysmal. He referred to it as abysmal. I would think it's more about that, and that's probably fresh on his mind. I mean, there were guys making business decisions all over the field. But yeah, he slipped that one in there, didn't he?